Hi, my name's Alex, otherwise known as Dynasty Guru NFL, and you are watching the Dynasty Hotseat.
Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dynasty Hot Seat, the only Dynasty show that is a certified inferno. And today, this is always one of my favorite episodes whenever Alex comes back on. You know, Alex, for you long-time listeners know, Alex is the first ever guest on the Dynasty Hot Seat. So, obviously, always a special episode to have him back on. Mate, great to see you again. How you doing?
Pleasure's always mine. I'm doing good. I always get really buzzed after that intro music. Just feel like I want to carry on. Yeah, so happy to be back, obviously. I think this is episode number 3. I think
It might be.
Yeah,
I think it might be the third appearance. Yeah, you're right.
Always too many more.
Yeah, absolutely. Always great to have you on the show. You always give great hints and tips. And guys, if you're joining us for the first time, you're about to have an absolutely brilliant show in for a real treat. And if you're watching on YouTube, promise you won't regret it. Hit that like and hit that subscribe button as well, because there's going to be lots of entertainment, lots of great hints and tips, and Alex is going to teach you a thing or two. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss another show. So Alex, let's get into segment number 1. That is just hints and tips, all right? Take it nice and easy to start before we turn up the heat on the hot seat. There's a couple of hints and tips for people listening about Dynasty Fantasy Football. So what do you got to chat about?
Yes, I think the most basic tip I always have for myself, as well as anyone who asks, is kind of when you're in the draft to never look backwards, to always just look forward. Because once someone's been picked, they've been picked. And unless you do manage to wangle a trade for said person, probably at a premium, there's no point in dwelling on it. There's loads of players on the board. You just gotta seek out the best of what you've got in front of you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, even we're currently in a draft right now, and I'll not name the person that's messaged me, but we both know him quite well. And he sent a message right away. It's like, oh, I'll trade you that player that I've literally just drafted about 5 minutes ago. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll need a premium for that, because why would I just give you the value back? Because I want that guy, so you'll have to be a bit on top of that. So I think I'm going to end up keeping that guy. That guy Stetson Bennett, by the way. That guy Stetson Bennett.
You should get rid of that.
Well, maybe by the time the episode's over, he will be gone. Yes. I think that is great. Yeah, don't look backwards, and keep pushing forward with your draft. Absolutely. Have you got any other hints and tips for us before we push forward with our draft, Alex?
Yeah, I think you'll probably see some of this in my drafting technique, shall we say. Kind of just stay cool when drafting. Yeah. Stay calm, collected. Get loads of reps in. Like do loads of mock drafts to make sure that, one, you understand how the ADP is going to work in your draft, how scoring is going to work in your league. Because if 50% of your league mates do that, you'll be on the better 50% side. So, any sort of edge you can get, just by putting in a bit of work, I recommend, if you want to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is something weirdly, like I've kind of found myself, I think, getting better at drafting, just doing the show and like literally doing a mock draft with somebody every single week and hearing what everybody else thinks. I think it's kind of improved my kind of drafting ability. I mean, people drafting the 3 might say otherwise, you never know. But I think I've kind of got better at that. But the scoring is so important. Obviously, Scott Fishbowl coming up. That's super important, right? Because the scoring is so wild and so different. You got to get to know different categories. So yeah, I think that is really good advice. And in terms of our draft that we're going to do now, Alex, the scoring, we got no wacky scoring at all. It is your bog standard default, like sleeper settings with no tight end premium. The only thing is we do have Superflex, but do you feel like Superflex is now actually your standard scoring anyway?
Yeah, I think I'm only in 2 or 3 leagues that are not Superflex now.
Yeah, same.
And they would have been kind of the ones that I started out playing from the off.
Yeah, I think I'm in maybe 2 1 QB league, but I'm pretty sure one of them's like a 20-man league, so that's understandable that it's not super flex because you can't really get all those QBs. So I think there's maybe one other, but yeah, not too many. But the first question I have for you, Alex, is in in your standard league here with the Superflex, if you had to choose and you got the luxury of choosing where you would start in a draft, what position you'd pick, what position would you choose here, and why exactly would you choose it?
So this changes season by season.
Yeah.
So for me,
You're the first person to say that. I completely agree. That's a great answer.
And I've been thinking about this quite a lot recently because when I got into the Scott Fishbowl a couple of weeks ago, I did loads of mock drafts before I was even accepted anyway, just fun. And I realized I wanted to pick up 4 because of what fell to me at both ends of the scale. And there's a risk, or 4 or 5, and basically there's a risk if I'm 6 or if I'm 3, then I'll lose players that I would like for the season.
Yeah.
So in a Superflex, by going up 4, you're going to get one of Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, or Burrow.
Yep.
And even 5, you could go for Herbert if you want to go for a QB first. The danger is that if you get to 10 or 11 and you miss out on Fields, or as many QBs go off the board and Fields is gone, you're kind of like, oof, I'm going to have to go no QB in a Superflex league for the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. And then you get yourself into a hole. I did, when I first started doing Superflex leagues, I think it would have been maybe 2019, 2018. In my head, I had a strategy, and I was just like, I'm going to go QB, skill player, QB, skill player.
Yeah.
And it worked well that season because I'd done the mock drafts, and that it turned out that I was able to take, say, like Kyler Murray, and then take a running back like a Dalvin Cook or someone, and then I was able to get another decent quarterback, maybe Goff at the time or something, or maybe not Goff actually, but and then I would take like Metcalf in round 4. So for me, I was like, okay, I've got 2 quarterbacks, I've got one of the best running backs and a solid receiver, and then the longer that league went on, the longer the draft went on, I was like, oof. I've really only got 1 running back here, and I've only got 1 receiver, because by the time it's gone all the way around, obviously now people like to throw in the 3rd round reversal.
Yeah. So
this is one important thing for any leagues that you're drafting in with a 3rd round reversal. If going 4 for me, I know that I have to take a running back in round 2.
Yeah.
Because if I don't take a running back in round 2, by the time it gets to round 3, pick 9, they're gone. And you're left with, kind of the dead zone guys. Yeah,
and that has to be like a conscious decision that you're going into. Just be like, I'm going to hit running back late then, right? And the quarterbacks are so interesting at the minute in Superflex. Even if we look here, if we scroll down and just look at these guys, I mean, look at the people that have taken a value hit, you could say, like Lamar Jackson's taken a value hit, Deshaun Watson's taken a value hit, Tua's taken a value hit, Kyler Murray's taken a value hit. All of these guys, especially the older people like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, there's more if you keep going down as well, Matthew Stafford. All of these guys who 2 years ago were really, really, really solid are now oh, I don't know. So I think quarterback landscape's a bit sketchy right now. So I love, taking those higher end picks. I also want to pick 4 in the Scott Fishbowl. It was already taken by the time I got there. I had to take pick 3. I had to get pick 3 instead, but I'm okay with that. I'm happy enough.
Yeah, the upside is you get hopefully one of. I mean, I did one called Biscuit Bowl, and that was kind of
Yeah,
similar.
yeah.
It's kind of similar, and the person who went first went with Kelsey, and I was just like, oh! And I was at 3, and I got Mahomes at 3, or I think or Hurts at 3, and I was like, okay, unexpected, but I'll take it.
Yeah. I have not made my mind up yet. It's tomorrow. It is tomorrow. It's I'm drafting live in London tomorrow, so
Oh wow!
I've not fully made my mind up yet. So I'll try and figure it out. Hopefully before I have too much to drink. Yeah, I know. But Alex, I'll get you locked in at position 4 then, shall I? Let's get you locked in here, and let's start the draft and see who manages to fall to you there with. Oh my God! Wow! I mean, that is. I had to think that I definitely turn it on to Superflex with Justin Jefferson going first overall. I did. Justin Jefferson went first. Joe Burrow went second. Jalen Hurts third.
Do you know, I'm not surprised that Justin Jefferson went first.
Yeah.
So I've been writing for Fantasy Six Pack, and they released a cheat sheet, which is available now. And if you go onto their Twitter page or their website, and basically, Justin Jefferson was at the top of projected points for the season. So once you're talking about outscoring QBs. So it could happen. Absolutely, it could happen. Yeah, and I'm not surprised that he's there. But
so it's a first full of Hotseat anyway. That's for sure. But you're left with, I mean, the two guys that most people would say are quarterback 1 and quarterback 2 in Dynasty Fantasy Football, right? So it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Who are you taking here, and what's your thought process behind it?
So I'm going Mahomes. Not like there needs to be too much thought with him. But the thing that concerns me most about Josh Allen, and I did a sneaky move in one league, and I think we're in the same league in that one, where I had Burrow, and I traded Wilson and Fields for Josh Allen.
Ooh.
Yeah, I did something like that. But anyway, I had Burrow and Fields, and then now I have Burrow and Josh Allen. That's my 1 and 2.
Yeah, awesome.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then as soon as I did it, I was like, what's the risk here? And then a couple of days later, Diggs unhappy. No one includes me in blah blah blah. And that's the thing that no one includes me in decision making, playmaking. That is the thing that really sticks out. I think it could be a bit of a ruse. Yeah. Like a tactical play from the Bills to just make people think that something's awry in Buffalo and turns people off them, but really they're solid. So you don't know. Diggs,
he's a weird cat.
He has a weird cat, but he's a pro when it comes to when he's on the field. He's a pro. Yeah. And he thrives when he's on the field, and there's no way he won't not want to play. So, but I do like Kincaid there as well. It's a big upgrade to Knox. It's kind of like shortstop receiver. I do like Shakir hanging around and Gabe Davis. You just know he's gonna, if Allen's afforded the time to pump the ball up in the air, that one of those two is going to be there to grab it. But Mahomes for me, if you look at, say, Kelsey as his number one target, and if you look at how many points Kelsey gets in a game, Mahomes and Kelsey get the same amount of points because they're throwing the touchdown. He's throwing the touchdown to him. Surely he doesn't get reception points, whatever. But in most league format, most scoring formats, Mahomes is getting a hit every game. He's going to get at least 2 or 3 touchdowns. You don't really have to doubt it. And so it's kind of a no-brainer for me. Whereas I think Josh Allen has the capacity to have down days.
Yeah.
Not that he has many.
Yeah, I'm all for that as well. Like, even just on, if you look at like kind of blemishes, Josh Allen's got a couple of blemishes, obviously, like when he first came into the league, and then a couple of things with his elbow at the end of last year. Patrick Mahomes has just 0 like blemishes. I've got no concerns about Patrick Mahomes like for the foreseeable future. For Josh Allen, not like a huge amount, but if you squint, you can see them. For Mahomes, it doesn't seem to be any issues on the horizon. And a couple of people come around there. You didn't get Travis Kelce. You talked about maybe getting that stack with Mahomes and Kelce, which would be interesting. You were talking about taking a running back here. You think you're going to have to take one with. Well, Breece Hall's gone off the board. Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor. Look where Bijan Robinson went, by the way, all the way up at 1-9. Do you think that's too high for him, or is that about right?
I don't know. See, if so obviously it's a 12-man league.
Yeah,
it's not a push. If you think that you'll never get a chance to buy him again.
Yeah.
If you're going from a dynasty setup, there's not one person who's like, I'm willing to give up Bijan Robinson for anything right now. And if he has, as soon as kickoff happens in September, and he runs riot, there's no chance that time is ever going to come around again. So, like, I have 0 shares of Bijan Robinson because, one, I don't know what I would offer. I don't know what anyone would accept. It's kind of if whatever it's the price right now for him is whatever you're willing to pay.
Yeah.
And
there's
no
people
fantasy.
Might be like, nah.
Yeah, there's no fantasy manager that's going to be like, oh yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, like people are just excited to get him in the starting lineup, right? And I actually had this might never happen again, but I had the dream scenario in one league where I won the league, but I had traded for the 23-101 like 2 years prior, so I won the league and got Bijan, and it's just like the best feeling. So yeah. That's going to be a nice next season. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But are you still thinking with the players on the board here with Barkley and Gibbs and people like that? Are you still thinking I'm going to go running back? But then you got like Deshaun Watson is still there. Is that too much of a value? Jalen Waddle's still there. Chris Olave, there's loads.
So in round 2 of a non-third round reversal, it's a bit more open. Whereas I think you have to go running back if you're sitting there in a third round reversal, because still on the board, Chubb, Henry, sometimes Taylor's available. In one league, I actually had McCaffrey get to me at 2.9, and I took McCaffrey. No brainer. But basically, in this format of non-third round reversal, taking into consideration that it's a dynasty league, and because I've drafted Mahomes, you want to keep up a winning team. You don't want to sort of like slow that momentum down. This is what I always think. If I was at 6 and I drafted Lawrence, or 7 Herbert, I'd kind of be more inclined to go for more of a long-term strategy from the offset, just because I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence. I'm like, well, he will probably win me some games, matchups week on week, but he won't win me every game week on week, whereas Mahomes has the capacity to. And it's kind of like, you don't want to let Mahomes down, if that makes sense. And so even though they're not on the same team anymore, you have to look at Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And you're going to get 2 seasons out of him. But if you then build the rest of your draft around the next 2 seasons, then the rest of it doesn't matter if you've got a championship. So I think at this point, Deshaun Watson, I'm straight out of void. I have no shares in Deshaun Watson. I don't think I ever will. He just looked a bit frail and just a bit off the pace last season. And obviously he's had the offseason now to work out and be familiar with the playbook in Cleveland. And they're sort of building up some assets to help him around. But, have they really done that? When he was in Texas, when he was in Houston at the Texans, he had Hopkins, and Hopkins was always an easy outlet for him. And even, when he was available, Will Fuller was just such an easy option for him. Whereas in Cleveland now, he's got Amari Cooper. Then after that, Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore.
My guy, Elijah Moore.
Moore,
got
Tillman.
David Njoku. Yeah. He could well. he could well have Hopkins again if reports are going that way.
Yeah,
But
very true. Very true.
you never know.
And I think like the running game is definitely centered around Chubb.
Yeah.
So what I'll do here is take Tyreek Hill. Actually, let's just have a little scroll down just before we press the trigger on Hill. Yeah, let's go with Hill. Let's go with Hill.
And are you hoping Chubb is going to come back around to you? Is that what you're thinking, or like a Derrick Henry or somebody like that? That's going to be like a big time kind of player at running back,
I mean, this is what I find quite funny. Barkley's ADP is higher than Austin Eckler, who was the RB1 last year. Barkley hasn't even signed a contract. Gibbs hasn't played a snap in the NFL. Like, similarly, you could say the same for Bijan. Breece Hall, who's already gone. Injury issues. No one ever talks about his injury issues and the fact that they've kept building at the position.
True.
Jonathan Taylor, he's very well placed. McCaffrey's well placed.
Yeah.
But you still have on the board Derrick Henry, stud. Like, the more people doubt him, the more he comes back. You've got Chubb, you've got Eckler, you've got Najee Harris.
Yeah.
So basically, if you don't mind scrolling down to about 45 on the list on the ADP or the
let's head on down and see. Like, got some nice tight ends. There's Isnon premium. Josh Jacobs coming off a big year, still there. Yeah, and then you get to like Najee Harris, who talked about, down to like 46. Nick Chubb all the way down to 48 there, right?
Jesus, you see what I mean? And it's like, and I played I was doing a 10-man draft recently. And I think I took Chubb in round 4. And I was like, that's an embarrassment to everyone who didn't pick him because they're looking at ADP. And
this is an unleashed Nick Chubb. He got no cream hunt. Like, this is the first time he's got the backfield to himself, right?
Yeah. And if Watson by some chance crumbles, like the whole game is just going to be centered around Chubb.
Yeah.
Provided he stays injury free. So I think here it'd be good to take advantage of one running back, and the hope would be that if I go Chubb here, which I think I'll go Chubb here, that people will see Eckler and Henry, and will take them, leaving Najee Harris on the way back.
Ooh, okay. So we're gonna risk it and go for. You're not gonna risk Chubb coming back. You're gonna take him now, get your guy locked up.
I'm gonna take him now. Yeah.
Nice. And then, because that's a
mismatch.
I have this dilemma sometimes as well, and it's I want to take this guy ahead of this guy, but his ADP is way down here, so I'm going to risk it. And sometimes, but you should really just take the guy that you think is the best, is going to score the most points, right? Like, that's ignore the ADP to an extent, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Harris was taken, but guess who's left?
Yeah.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry still on the board.
Still on the board.
He's all the way down there. Yeah. So any discussion needed about this?
Let's just have a quick look up to see if there's anyone higher in there.
Josh Jacobs, Kyler Murray.
Jacobs hasn't signed a contract. Murray's out for the first 6-7 weeks. Adams has been throwing a hissy fit. Hawkinson would be a good chance to lock up a good T1 here.
Yeah.
But he and I guarantee that if you don't pick Hawkinson here, someone will take him on the spin.
Yeah.
Definitely. Pollard, not too big a fan. Ramondre Stevenson. I'm a big fan of Pollard and Stevenson, but not a fan of how they're going to be utilized. Derrick Henry again. So you're centering, and Harris, Chubb, and Henry all fall into this category this season. The offenses that they play in are not good offenses.
Yeah.
And so if in doubt, run it out. And these guys are going to be on the receiving end of a lot of touches.
I agree.
So very easy pick here, I think. Yeah, Derrick Henry, 53.
Yep.
53.
That's getting that. It sounds weird to say, doesn't it? Like Derrick Henry, a guy that it's just he's never not produced in the last 4-5 years. He's always produced, and I don't know why. I think people get to a certain age and everyone just assumes it's like, all right, that's them done. I'm like, they're not. It's not over till the fat lady sings. Like it's they're still value, So Derrick Henry's off the board. So we're in this win now kind of mode, right, Alex? Would you agree? So who's standing out?
Yeah, definitely. Look at that. Let me look at that team.
Yeah,
look at that team. If you were, say, like 3 years into your dynasty league and you had managed to put that team together, you'd be happy.
Yeah,
knowing full well it'll only last a couple more years.
But you're immediately in like that win now. Like no one's got a stronger starting lineup out of that draft from what I can see. So you're, and now this is the point. Like you set a goal now, right? So you're the kind of person that you're just like, this is ride or die now. We're going win now with every single pick.
And do you know what? I've started drafting a lot more best balls recently. And I've found that's kind of changed my mentality on drafting, both in redraft and in Dynasty. So there are players that are going to be on the board a bit further down, and they're going to be very like ugly, unfashionable names. But in a best ball league and in a Dynasty league where you're going for win now, these players are going to chip in, and like. We'll probably get to a few more, but just off the top of my head, Jacoby Myers. Sounds like a really ugly pick to make.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster's another one.
Yeah.
But they're in pole position to take a lot of receptions. And if Adams for some reason throws his toys out the pram and maybe he holds out or whatever, holds in. Myers works best on the outside. Looking at Garoppolo playing in San Francisco, he was more comfortable throwing on the outside when he was able to throw. Adams is the deep pass. And I mean, there are definitely instances where Garoppolo threw deep to say like an Ayuk.
Yeah.
But he would always go for that outside receiver, Samuel, when he was lining up there. And even people like Trent Sherfield were getting more reps than you would expect. A couple of years ago, Juwan Johnson.
Juwan
Jennings.
So you sort of changed the mindset. So is anyone here, even in the 5th round, someone you're like considering like an ugly? I mean,
no,
there is an ugly pick here, but I don't think it quite fits your like method or mold.
No, so I think with Dynasty, are we doing? Is it 3 receivers? Yeah, so I think that's quite important as well. That it's 3 receivers.
Yeah,
it's good to kind of have 2 on the board. Just to. I know I said never go back on drafts, but CJ Stroud would be someone I'd really love to have in all of my drafts. If I'm at the tail end of this 12-man draft, and I've taken Fields as my QB1, and Stroud's available there in round 3, that's such a steal. Look at that. That's a good team as well, actually. If Hall stays fit, Fields, Hall, really Stroud, and Cup, that's a very good team.
Definitely. Hey, I'm loving team. Have you seen good old team number 9 here? Bijan, McCaffrey, Eckler. I love it.
Definitely gone for a strategy there. It's like the opposite strategy that you would ever go for.
Yeah, exactly. That's not my style. It's like going to be reversal. He's going to take all the quarterbacks late, right?
Good. So I think what I would do. What I do here is probably look at the quarterbacks just who's on the board.
Yep. So Daniel Jones up at the top there, coming off a great season, and then a couple of solid guys in there, right?
Yeah, I think Goff's a really natural pick for a QB2, and I've taken him as my QB2 in a lot of leagues. But I think I need a receiver in a 3-receiver league.
Yep.
And if you scroll down a little bit, he should still be there. Keep going.
Ooh, we're going deeper down here.
Oh, number 71, Terry McLaurin.
Oh, so talk to me about Terry. Why are you thinking him at this position here?
So, that position there in particular is one. I don't think that he'll come back around to me. 2, I think he's been painted with a really. What's the phrasing I'm looking for? Living abroad has really knocked out the phrases out of my head. he's kind of been painted with a bit of tar, if that makes sense, because he's been, the last 2 seasons he's had Heineke and who was it? Alex Smith.
Wentz for a while, right? Wasn't it?
Wentz. Good grief.
Yeah.
And it's like the style of receiver that he needs a really good receiver, a really good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that Howell is the answer, although I think he's quite cool. I like him as a player. I think I might have him in about 50% of my leagues now.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's good exposure. Yeah, okay.
Talking like I think I'm in about 40 leagues in total, so it's quite a good quite a good haul of Howell there. Yeah, haul of Howell.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I just have a feeling that he's in a bit of a position to get that offense going. He's been underplayed by the coaching staff. They started off saying, "Oh, isn't he going to be the number one?" Now they're saying he is going to be the number one going into camp, or he is the number one going into camp. And I'm sure when week 1 kicks off, provided he doesn't get an injury between now and then, it's going to be his offense to run. And I remember watching him with North Carolina, and he had 2 solid running backs with him in Michael Carter, who's at the Jets, and Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
And so they would play in like a 1-2 punch, and Hal would still get loads of runs off. And when people were striking, when Williams and Carter were striking the fear into opponents by doing that 1-2 punch, he would just launch it.
Yeah.
And he would just launch it, and he's got a good arm on him. He can move. And I think if he's able to get passes off to McLaurin, I think it's going to be a really good partnership. And it is a bold move to take him here, perhaps. Yeah. But again, I don't think he's going to come back around, so I'll take McLaurin here.
Yeah, let's get McLaurin. McLaurin is such an interesting kind of guy because, like, forever he was the guy that had like quite a high ADP, and he would always kind of finish just under his ADP. And then last year was the first year he actually outproduced his ADP, and for some reason it dropped. And I can't figure out why. Like, what's happened there?
Sentiment.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's the year. I don't know. I don't think Terry McLaurin is old by any means, but like a lot of these people, like people like George Pickens, for example, I don't think George Pickens got any kind of need to be going ahead of someone like Terry McLaurin, in my opinion. I don't think he's done enough to show that.
No, I mean even Dotson, like Dotson's 81 there on the ranking, and that's if I've missed out on McLaurin this year, I go for Dotson.
Yeah.
Because I think good.
So I was going to say, so is anyone like still there? Like, are you even thinking, no, I've got McLaurin, I'll just take Dotson as well. I'll take him anyway.
No, I think when you have two receiver stack, and they are good. And in one league that I have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith.
Nice.
But if it wasn't for the depth I had at that position, because I also have Amon-Ra St. Brown in that league, so the danger is that you have your wide receiver 1 and 2, or your wide receiver 2 and 3 out at the same week.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky position to put yourself in when you have 2 receivers and you're kind of judging. You essentially have to judge what the Commanders' offense are going to do that day. And it's such a hit and miss. Like, you'll never get it every time. Even if you're Ron Rivera, you wouldn't get it every time because you have to change mid-game. And you can think, oh, well, the Commanders are up against like a really poor secondary. So both of them will get the targets. That's never going to be the case.
No.
Yeah. So I think I would definitely leave Dotson now. I've got a good receiver there.
Well, I'll flick onto all positions as well, so you can see who's still. I mean, Jared Goff, you talked about earlier, he's still available on the board there, and a couple of running backs too. Kirk Cousins is still there. Anyone standing out to you?
Yeah. And again, only because I'm doing this win now strategy, I'm going to go bold, and I'm going to go Swift.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Talk me through
And
DeAndre Swift. Then you think he's going to have a big year at Philadelphia?
I think he has the opportunity to have a big year. Like I
Yeah,
think, and I know there's a lot of Rashad Penny fans out there, but I kind of feel that it's a bit of a ruse, having watched him play for the Seahawks. Well, having watched him not play for the Seahawks the last few years, and I was always disappointed as a fan watching him, and as a fantasy owner, I think I only ever owned him in the fantasy league once, and it was painful
yeah,
because you just don't know what you're going to get. It's so unreliable, and I think that production won't wash in Philadelphia if they're trying to challenge for a Super Bowl again. I think they'll probably lean more on Gainwell in those situations because you got to know what you're going to get with him.
Yeah, but Swift will be the number one option there. You think?
I think so, and not only that. So on the running side, but I think on the short passing game side, their only slot option is Quez Watkins. So once you go past AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, who's the slot option? And I think Swift will be used maybe as the slot receiver if they go with Penny in the backfield, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So I think there's good opportunities for him to score big weeks, and they've got some good games this season.
Yeah.
So I think it should be a nice one, and I don't think he's got a clash in. He doesn't have a clash in bye weeks with Chubb or Henry. So
nice. Yeah, that's
I
good.
think it's week 10. Is it week 10? Maybe I think it might be.
Chubb is 5 and Henry is 7.
Yeah, I think he's week 10. Yeah, go for it either way.
Let's get Swift locked in then, and you're correct. 10. Well done, great knowledge, Alex. Nice work. Week 10 is his bye week, and we've got who came off there: Burks, Flowers, Cousins, Cooper, Pickens, Sanders. Any of those guys you were thinking about taking, or is your guy still there?
Sanders is interesting.
Yeah.
Burks, I have no shares in. Flowers, I have no shares in. Cousins, none. Cooper, I think I have 1. He's talking like 1 across 40 leagues. Pickens 0. Sanders 0. Like that whole block there is kind of and maybe this is me like hedging my bets on my guys, shall we say?
Yeah.
Or at least my strategy anyway. I think Sanders is an interesting pick.
Yes.
Had I not already gone for 3 running backs, I'd be tempted to take him. Just because, again, same situation as Henry and Chubb and Harris.
Yeah.
That offense is kind of question mark. And Bryce Young is obviously very talented. But are his receivers as talented? And they've got quite a deep receiver core in Chark, Marshall, rookie Mingo, Thielen, and we'll come back to Thielen later because he's one of my favorite players to pick this season.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
But I think in this situation here, sorry, you go ahead.
No, I say I think I was going to say despite sanity, he's got like that clear path, right, which is so important for any running back. But unfortunately, he's gone. You can't have him. So who are you going to take then?
Yeah, so it has to be Jared Goff as I was lining up for myself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The bye week it's there in the second column after ADP. I wonder where I was getting the number 10. Wonder where I was getting the number 10 from. I just realized myself.
I'll edit that bit out and people just like, wow, this guy's like great. He just knows all the bye weeks.
No, they're gonna look and be like, it's on the screen.
So we locked in Jared Goff. Almost like I would say like Goff and like Kirk Cousins are like just like the ultimate quarterback too, right? They're so safe, they're so reliable, you don't have to worry about them, right? So you must be pleased getting him in the sort of what round is that? The 7th round?
7th round, yeah. And like, people might consider that as an ugly pick. But again, this is all tied to sentiment. 2 years ago, he had an awful season.
Yeah.
And his first season in Detroit was bad as well. But that whole offense was woeful.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, you can tell Dan Campbell's had a bit more of an influence on that team. Did they have a winning season? I think it was either 7-8 or it was 8. It was either, sorry.
They were pretty close to making the playoffs, I think.
Yeah.
I think they did end up with maybe not a winning season. Did they get the same amount of wins as losses? I can't quite remember.
I think it was like 7-8-1 or 8-7-1. I think there was a draw.
They had a draw, did they? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Look, I could be completely wrong there. I should check it now. But basically, it seems to me that they want to keep him around and kind of base the team around him, at least for the next couple of years. They're already in contract discussions with him. He seems to work very well with ARSB.
Yeah.
And I haven't got shares of ARSB in this league now because I've missed him in the second round. But I'll have, at least a piece. I'll have at least a piece on a piece of what he's getting, scoring wise.
Yeah.
In the same way, like I got Kelsey, but I've got Mahomes.
Yeah.
It could be good.
Yeah, I think Goff's a good choice there as well. And you're kind of now like the only position you haven't really addressed is tight end. But at this stage, are you happy just to punt it with people like Freiermuth and Darren Waller? You're just happy to wait on tight end a little bit, or one of those guys or some other guys like standing out?
So for me, I'm going to wait till rounds 10 and 11 and do a stack.
Yep. Nice.
Of hopefully Maya and Laporta.
Okay, that would be nice.
I might even do it the next round. I might take one in the next round.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I think this is obviously playing with simulator.
Yeah.
But when you're playing with real folk in leagues, and they see that one of those two have come off the board, very, very soon after the other one comes off the board.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to get both, my best chance is to do it now.
Yeah.
But if you look at the rest of the board, there's still some really good pieces available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe if you and this is actually where I'd take a bit of a bold gamble on, and maybe go Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I'm not against that at all. He's looking like something that on a show I did last year with Paul and Hannah, just kind of studying like the NFL week by week. One of the things we said about Russell Wilson, and we tried to say, as respectfully as we possibly could, but it was like he's out of shape. He was really like out of shape, and he's put a lot of work in this offseason, and he's already he's dropped a couple of stone, I think. Like he's looking trimmer, he's looking faster. Like that's all signs pointing the right direction for Russell Wilson, right? So yeah, I don't hate it at all. Is that like a screaming value for you there? Are the people left?
I think it's. Maybe just give the list a little scroll down.
Oh, let's have a look.
So again, the only thing I'm conscious of here is that I've got a 2 receivers in a 3 receiver league.
Yep.
But if I can pick up a decent receiver on the way back, maybe just click on receivers.
Let's have a little look who's there. We've seen some of those guys in the way down. You got, Mike Evans, Rashad Bateman, and then Mingo, who we talked about there earlier. Still quite a few guys left there before it hits the sort of receiver dead zone.
Yeah, do you know what? I think I'd be tempted to hold off and take Evans on the way back. So what I'll do is I'll go Russell Wilson here.
Yep. And then
I don't think anyone's thinking of Evans at this point.
Yeah,
Brock Purdy's ahead of him in ADP, so I think we're gonna. Yeah,
so it looks like we're safe. We didn't see Evans come off the board. Mike Evans, this guy's been so consistent all the time, and he's another one people are just kind of writing off. I know he's going to have a trickier year with, either Baker Mayfield or what's probably going to happen, Kyle Trask throwing the ball eventually, right? Because Baker's probably just going to flame out. He'll still be fine. He'll still be a really good, solid receiver, I think, right?
Apart from the 2 games against the Saints,
Yeah,
when
where
there's
Marshawn
two-
Lattimore has him in his back pocket.
Yeah, but if you click on Evans's profile,
Yeah.
he's the only person in the league. Okay, maybe scroll to the bottom. There you go. He's the only person 9 consecutive 1,000-yard receiving.
It is incredible.
And look, you can see on the right there, he's himself is challenging or wants to challenge. He's got a long way to go, obviously, but he himself has a target in mind. He's definitely the alpha of that offense. Like, it's not Rashad White, it's not Baker Mayfield, it's not Godwin. He's the alpha in that offense. And so, if he has to change his game to suit Mayfield, I think he's probably more capable of doing that than Godwin is. And there's nothing against Godwin.
Yeah.
But look where Godwin's going. 7-11. Round 7, pick 11. And you think year on year, Evans has outperformed Godwin every season, more or less. So it's kind of a no-brainer.
I mean, this is the one here that I'm like, really? We got DeAndre Hopkins going ahead of him, right? And he's older and produces similar results. He doesn't even have a team at the minute.
Doesn't have a team, yeah. It was the same with Beckham last year. People were drafting Beckham around the same place as they're drafting Hopkins, and I was like, now, look, Beckham has a team, and he's still not being drafted at this point.
Yeah, it's funny sometimes, right? People, exactly. But Mike Evans, we're locking him in here, right? There's no
definitely,
let's get him, definitely locked in,
like,
and see if he falls back to us. Ooh, unfortunately, Michael Mayer does go off the board, who you were looking at. So now we're hoping not to see Sam Laporta pop off the board, right? That was your other target. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed for you, Alex, and hopefully Sam Laporta comes back, which he does. But does that mean you're definitely going to take him? He is right up there at the top of ADP.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, again, playing with humans. As soon as Mayer goes off the board, he's gone. Like, realistically, he wouldn't get to me here.
Yeah.
But I'll take him. I'll absolutely take this result, Just really good feedback coming from camp. He seems to be well, I think he'll have a nice rapport with Jared Goff in the same way that Goff had a good rapport with Hawkinson as well before he shifted allegiances to the Vikings last season. So
now this is where I have to tell most guests, this is where the computer kind of goes a bit funny, right? You'll notice the quarterbacks are kind of all stacking up here. This is kind of going to happen. They're not going to go. 1 or 2 might go, and then we'll get to round 17 and they'll all disappear. So I'll leave it up to your discretion if you think that it's still like a realistic option to take a certain quarterback in these rounds. I'll leave it up to your own discretion with that.
So what I'll do is I'll just bring up another draft that I'm in, which is a 12-man. I can't remember if it's a completed one, because then we can do a little comparison with. It's the good thing about being in so many leagues, you can just put one
just
up.
Ping one up.
Yeah. I'm gonna I'm specifically looking for one where I drafted Howell.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got one here. Just be a second. Draft results 2023.
So we're going to be adding to that 50% share. Even in the mock, we're going to get some more Sam Howell locked in.
So in this one, I took Howell. I took him very early. Yeah, I took him in 9.
Okay.
I took him in 9. So I don't think so. Looking at that same league, Superflex, the only ones that were really left after round 9 were Tannehill, Mayfield, and then there was a real big gap of maybe, I think, 2 or 3 rounds here where actually a quarterback wasn't picked by anyone.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That is what I tend to see on here compared to playing against like other people. Whenever you're playing against like in a mock, whenever people are playing, there's more of a scramble like to get that quarterback right, because you can't really be left without one, especially in a super flex. You really want that too, or or three, like quarterbacks really to feel pretty secure. So I think you took him in round 9. I think in round 11, I think that would be okay to take Sam Howell if you did want to take him here.
Yeah. But it's kind of now I really want to build out the rest of the team. Now I've got a good starting lineup. I'm tempted to look at tight end again here, actually. Just so that I know I've got like a 1-2.
There's still some good talent available at tight end with like Cole Kmet is there, Chigo Okonkwo is there, Greg Dulcich, I think he's criminally underrated actually, Greg Dulcich. And you talked about stacks earlier, right? I know you thought about Laporta and you talked about Michael Mayer, but you could have a stack with, Sam Laporta and Jared Goff, and then Greg Dulcich and Russell Wilson as well.
Yeah. I think the only thing I have with anyone catching the ball in Denver is there's so many mouths to feed. It just seems like who's the wide receiver 1, 2, and 3?
We got Jerry Jeudy, I think. You got Courtland Sutton's there, but Courtland Sutton's terrible. So I'm like, I don't know if he's going to get too much. Tim Patrick is coming back. Marvin Mims is there. You've got I'm sure there's a pass. Samaje P. Ryan's going to catch passes probably.
Yeah, Hamler's a bit of a who knows. I don't know if he's still there, but they did pick up Marcus Callaway on free agency.
Yeah,
but I think they might have waived him.
Yeah. I seen his name come up. Yeah, I seen his name come up over a different team, and I was like, oh, I'd never realized he'd left the Saints. But yeah, I can't remember if it was Denver or I can't remember where I seen him. But
I think he was definitely there at some point, and I don't know if they may have waived him since. Okay. But I think it's not a bad time to go like to tight ends like I'd originally planned.
Yeah.
And again, talking about making the best of a bad offense, I think Jake Okonkwo is going to go there.
Yeah.
Kmet, if you look at his scoring week on week last year, very like up and down. And he had a couple of, I think 2 or 3 weeks where he played really well and had really good connection with Fields. But those things are always such a big danger to me because when you have someone who has 2 really big weeks consecutively, you have no choice but to start them the next week. And then they flop. And then you like, I'll wait it out. I'll try to do it one more time. And I don't want to fall into that position. Whereas with Chigo Okonkwo, he's my tight end too. Basically, whoever I start at tight end is going to be matchup based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Chig he is just one of those players that you can see. I mean, what round is he coming here? Round 11. If he has a good year next year, he's going to be right up there. He's going to be overtaking people like Pat Freiermuth. I think like he's going to be pushed right up there to the top end of that tight end pool, right?
Yeah, and I think in a real league, he's going in around 11, round 12 as well. Same with Kmet.
So. Yeah, I would think that's right. And you just missed out on Rashad Penny. I bet you're gutted, Alex.
Oh, super gutted.
Yeah.
So now, but now is the perfect opportunity, I think, from rounds 12 and 13, to start picking off some of the rookies of this class.
Okay.
Now, I don't see him taking. Oh, I do see him.
Do you want me to flick it on to rookies? Do you want me to just show rookies only? Do you see just the rookies?
Yeah, go for it. I see that all of my favorite rookies have gone off the board. They are Rashee Rice, Josh Downs, Jaden Reed. Yeah, those are my 3 favorites.
All gone, unfortunately. You have a couple of receivers there. Like, Tank Dell. That's a real interesting prospect, right? Who knows what's going to happen there? Hopefully, nobody tackles him. That would be a shame for him. But. Yeah, you got a couple of guys left there. Do you want to see the veterans as well now? Or
I think maybe take off. If we take off rookies and go receiver again, I just kind of want to stack receivers for the next couple of rounds.
Yeah, you got Courtland Sutton there too. I don't get the court. I don't think Courtland Sutton is very good. You got Sky Moore, who's traditionally Andy Reid offense. It does take. You can only imagine what the hell do you think an Andy Reid playbook looks like. It's gotta be very hard to learn. So Sky Moore, I'm expecting to take a step forward this year. Then you got Michael Thomas, who, What could you say? I don't know what to say about Michael Thomas anymore.
No, I think so. Actually, so he's the most owned player I have. I think it's about 70% in all my leagues. 80
Michael
Perry.
Thomas. Oh,
No,
A.T.
80
Perry.
Perry.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've just been snapping him up in the last round of all of my rookie drafts, or in the last round of most of my best ball or whatever. He has the potential, I think, I think he would work well with Carr. Like in the same way that Carr had a really good relationship with Devontae Adams last season. I think he could be that guy. Thomas is all talk.
Yeah.
And he hasn't lived up to his name. I think the fact that he had it was that one season, was it 2020 or 2019, where he had 170
maybe even
or
19.
so. Yeah, I think it was like 173 receptions or something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously that was outstanding. And he caught a lot of his passes that were sent his way, which was key. But after that, it just seemed like it was just blowing air.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, from his perspective, to have such a big season, it's hard to then live up to that season again and again. But he went about it completely the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of sentiment was attached to his draft capital the last couple of years, and I think slowly, like now, I think he's accurately placed for the first time in 2, maybe 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, to the point where you're like, oh, like it is like you do think about it here. Like last year, he was going way too high for me to even like think about it. But here, kind of like, oh, but why? But I'm staying clear of him mostly. Like I don't know what age is Michael Thomas? Like he's 30 as well. Like how many 30-year-old receivers are slam dunks at the minute? Like
look at that.
Yeah,
working on a side field to practice. Just
yeah, man, sad. A little bit sad. So, are you still thinking receiver with the people that are available, or are you going somewhere else?
So let's just scroll down a little bit, because this is really a big bit of a dead zone here. Now,
Jacoby Myers, you talked about, right?
Yeah, I like him. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I think if you look at his scoring week on week last year, he obviously picked up a knee injury, I think, or an ankle injury preseason, and then he came back, and then he did his ACL, and I think things would be a little bit different for him had he not done that.
Agreed.
He's got a really good capacity to be a decent player. I think I took a lot of shares in him last season. I'm also reading a lot about Romeo Dubes. That's that. Like creating a good rapport with Jordan Love.
Okay.
That's also an interesting player. Alec Pierce, I'd rather have Josh Downs.
Yeah.
Tank Dell's very interesting. So Nico Collins, haven't got to him yet, but he's also very interesting for me.
He's right underneath him, yeah.
And again, I've missed out on Stroud, but I really want a piece of that offense. So I'd be tempted to go for Tank Dell on the spin here. Not now, but maybe the next one, and just try to maximize draft capital with this 12th round pick. So maybe just go to all again.
Yeah, let's have a little. I'll go flex, because if I go all, flex, it's going to be all quarterbacks, because that's the way it kind of works. So I'll go flex. Chase Brown is up. Chase Brown's way up there. Wow. Samaje Perine is there. Like people like that are running back. Yeah, we're drying up a little bit here in round 12.
Yeah, I think I think Chase Brown is quite interesting. He's obviously his draft capital is rising every single day, because there's questions over Mixon's contract and whether he'll take a cut. And obviously now it's post June. It's kind of really it's not as detrimental for the Bengals to keep him around if he's not willing to play ball. I think he'll still end up being there.
I think so.
Because if you look at the running backs that are currently in the open market or in the midst of, Jacobs hasn't signed a contract. Barkley hasn't signed a contract.
No.
Cook hasn't signed anywhere. Zeke's out there Fournette's out there. These are all really competent running backs.
Kareem Hunt's out there still, right?
Kareem's on there. There's like a whole era of running backs who are just kind of waiting to get a team, and it's like they all can't come on one team. So
Todd Gurley's still waiting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually thinking that Mixon is going to be cut, and one of those will fill that spot, depending on.
Yeah.
And I know that, say, like Dalvin Cook wants to join a contender, and obviously Miami's the best fit for him, in his own words. But I think if, say, the Bengals cut Mixon tomorrow, Cook would be, "Hello, I'm Dalvin Cook. I would like to play for the Bengals."
And it would be yes, yeah,
no brainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a really tough round.
Yeah, I agree. I'd struggle here as well. I'm trying to, in my own head, think about who I would take here. Man, it's a bit of a crapshoot. Like, there's not huge.
Stinky. It's very stinky.
Yeah,
and I think in reality, you'd probably have 4 or 5 more receivers at this point, because a lot of quarterbacks would have come off the board. Excuse me, just gotta turn the light on and come back.
Okay.
So I think 4 or 5 players would have been taken off the board already. Quarterbacks, so I think the likes of, say, Jaden Reed, Mims, maybe Downs, Smith-Schuster might be available at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be willing to take more of a risk on someone like Mooney, but again, I don't like that offense. So let's go for it. We're going to go for 2 receivers here.
Nice.
And let's just go. I think let's go with both Nico Collins and Wan'Dale Robinson.
Nice. Let's do it. Let's see who's first up. So Wan'Dale Robinson's first in ADP. We'll take him first.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And then let's hope Nico Collins swings back around to us, which he does. We'll snap him up as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not getting bits of like offenses there. And what I like about those 2 players is those guys have got like a clear path to target share, right? They're not going to be frozen out by anybody in particular, really. So exactly. They've both got a good shot there. And we're swinging around to us quite quickly again. A couple of guys we mentioned earlier, like Sky Moore, Romeo Dobbs, Jacoby Myers, all kind of coming off the board. Damian Harris, who's an interesting player for this year as well, coming off the board. And we're here with Tank Dell, who you spoke about earlier. He is available. People like Tyler Boyd, your older receivers, still up there, as well as a couple. This is a bit. It feels like better value all of a sudden now. We've skipped past 2 rounds. It's kind of like the value's coming back again a little bit. Is anyone standing out for you there, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, so Tank Dell's at the top of that list, but I really want to check out running backs at this point, because outside of my top 3, I want to see if I can maximize any value.
Yeah.
And then Donta Foreman screaming out at me there. But again, we don't really know what that role is going to be. Fields is going to run a lot of those opportunities. He's going to take a lot of those running plays. And
they've got Herbert, and they've got who was the other person they drafted? Bijan's teammate. I'm blanking on his name at the minute.
Roshan Johnson.
Yeah, so he's like maybe the 3rd option there, maybe, depending on how they use Roshan and Herbert.
Yeah, there are certain players who will remain nameless, but we both know who they are. They're trying to shift onto Donta Foreman for what I would call an unrealistic price.
Yes.
So, but yeah, maybe just to scroll a little further down there. I don't know those really jump out to me. Dwayne McBride just seems like a bit of I'll take it with a pinch of salt.
I'm taking loads of Dwayne McBride because I just think he's got a shot, and like that's my main reason for it. Not that I think he's like particularly good, but the NFL show you don't have to be particularly a good running back to make it. Like, you just need a shot. So I'll be taking him. But you've got some of these people you mentioned earlier, and I bet there's a few more. Like Ezekiel Elliott is there. I bet some of these other guys are down here as well. Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette. They're all still there. There's a bit of a dice roll of where they end up, but yeah, they're all still there.
So for me, I'm going to take a really shrewd move here, and I'm going to go with Jerome Ford.
Ooh, okay.
And usually I wouldn't.
About Jerome Ford.
So usually I wouldn't do this. So I always think
Uh-huh.
you should never take your own handcuff, because
Yeah.
you will never get the best value for that person. So you should always take the handcuff of another team.
Yeah.
So then, if they have, because their first instinct is that if a player goes down in an offense that's so reliant on them, so say like when Dalvin Cook was injured for the Vikings, the very few games they was injured over the last few seasons, Mattison's price went straight up, and the same way it did once Cook was cut. But I think that's purely situational. But no one is shopping for Mattison if you've already got him.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. And no one's gonna like. The only reason I've gone for Ford is because I think that Cleveland offense is going to be really reliant around him. He'll probably take some of that Hunt action from last season.
I can see that.
But if Chubb, and I say I've taken a really big punt on Chubb as my running back one.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is injured for whatever reason, Jerome Ford is
He's the man,
the natural replacement. He knows the playbook. They will probably go to the open market since there is such a big availability of big name players.
Yeah. I am a little bit surprised that they let Dearness Johnson go, to be honest, because he looked really good in that system, I thought. And I just assumed he was going to stay, but he's got like Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, but I think potentially they're products of a good scheme as well.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the 49ers, obviously McCaffrey is the exception to the rule here, but you take the Mostert, you take Jeff Wilson out of action, and you don't really out of the 49ers scheme, and then you don't really see them producing in the same way.
Well, they were lucky enough to go to the exact same scheme, though. I suppose in the Dolphins. It's kind of lucky, right?
And I think I remember looking at this at some point last year, and I think the last person to have 1,000-yard rushing in a season before last season was Frank Gore in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah, it just shows how how the scheme, it just kind of, they have that rotation scheme, and I think the Browns operate in a similar fashion. I think Stefanski likes that model, so I think he'll get a lot of touches. And then
the good news is, Alex, Tank Dell still there, or are you now just thinking I need more running backs still?
Snap him up. Let's go for it. And I think whereas at the beginning of the show I said, okay, you should do a double stack. These two won't be my starting receivers, and they probably won't even be in the flex most weeks. So I think the risk is a lot lower.
Yeah, agreed. And then look at that.
I say one of Collins and Dell, if it doesn't work, could be dumped. I think Thielen.
Yeah, you're getting pieces of the pie there, Houston, which no one's really sure what's going on. So get a piece of the pie. I just heard you say a name. Is that Adam Thielen? Well, we talked about him. You said you were going to chat about Adam Thielen. So do you want me to lock in Thielen, then you want to chat about him a little bit?
Do you know what? I completely forgot about him. Usually I would go through and make a queue and sort of put him. And I would probably put him a lot higher. I would probably taken him where I took Collins, actually. Just completely forgot that he was there. Because he's essentially in the same way that Evans is the alpha in Tampa, Thielen is the alpha on that Carolina offense. There isn't really anyone there who's going to be demanding targets.
I don't think so.
And I just think it's going to work really well for him. And again, I've got the short term in mind with my team selection, obviously, this so far. I would probably try and shift one of my decent players mid-season. If it wasn't going so well, I'll be looking to trade as many players as I can to the win now teams for future picks.
Yeah, I think that's more than sensible. So are we snapping up Thielen now?
Let's go Thielen.
Let's snap him up, and and see who comes round. This is where the quarterback's going to go. Look, this is the glitch, right? Look, this is all. It's all going to be quarterback. So yeah, we're back on the board. I mean, look, this isn't realistic. Obviously, Will Levis, Derek Carr is going in 17th round, but that's the sleeper algorithm that we're stuck with on the show. Sadly,
no, Will Levis is going. Will Levis is going in the right place.
Well, maybe overdrafting. So there's people on the boat. Rashid Shaheed, being a bit of the talk of the town a little bit. Heard some about Rashid Shaheed. Gerald Everett, who is impossible to sell, as I know from our league. That I've been trying to sell Gerald Everett for about 3 years now, and can't do it. No one will buy for old Gerald. But
just looping back to that sentiment of there's no like emotional sentiment on Gerald Everett. That's why he carries no. That's why he carries no trade value. So you either have to just have to keep him there or just drop him, and just if someone gets him, you're like, well, good luck trying to trade him. Yeah,
well, exactly. Yeah, I'll just pick him up on waivers in a few weeks after that. Yeah. So who's standing out to you with your penultimate pick? Juwan Johnson, Michael Wilson still there as well.
Yeah. I think Wilson or Gesicki, actually. I only have 2 tight ends, so I'd be tempted to go for Gesicki here, and then take a receiver on the back, and that's only because I know that whatever happens, A.T. Perry will be available on the way back. Yeah,
okay.
Because no one's thinking of him.
So you're thinking then you're going to go with your tight end Gesicki or Tyler Higbee? Tyler Higbee not finished at tight end 5 last year. He's all the way down. People like he's another one. No emotional attachment. No one really cares about him, but he's a guy that does produce, right? But who are you going to take here for your penultimate pick?
Oof. I think I'll go with Gesicki.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think another potential star in an ugly offense.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think this is the year that Sleeper are finally going to take away the tight ends designation of Mike Gesicki, who's not played tight end in his life? Like, what are we doing here? Like he's not a tight end, right? He's this big slot receiver. That's where he's going to play it. Bill Belichick's not going to ask him to block and tell you that much. So he's going to be playing, as a big slot receiver. I could imagine, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Tyler Higbee comes off the board, and is this? I might have to type his name in because he'll be so far down the line. A.T. Perry. Talk to me a little bit about A.T. Perry, then, Alex, to round off the show if that's who you're going to go for.
So, like, I watched a lot of his tape when he was at Wake Forest.
Yeah,
and just seems to separate from quarterbacks very well. He's got a lot of moves in his locker, and I think he actually really fits the way that the Saints play. When I look at his movement, I look at the same movement as you'd say a Michael Thomas. He has that same kind of build, the same kind of skill set. I'm not going to say he's as good or will ever be as good as Michael Thomas was that one season. But I think he has the potential to kind of fill that role of working the outside because Olave is obviously the wide receiver 1 there. Yeah. And so in terms of fit, he's a really good complement to Olave in the same way that Thomas could also be. But since we're right at the end of the draft, I've got nothing really that I have to wait for.
Yeah.
And it's like the rest of my team is focused on now. If it turns out that he's not going to get any reps, or it turns, for whatever reason, I can drop him and pick someone off the waiver wire. If you look at the waiver wire now, there's still, Claypool's just gone. Maybe check the rest of the receivers available.
Yeah, let's have a look and see who's still available. Yeah, like you've got
KJ Osborne.
Khalil Shakir, you talked about earlier, still there.
Do you know what? I'd be tempted to go Osborne here. Let's go Osborne because Perry is someone I can pick up. Yeah, and Shakir, could be Renfro, could be whoever. Yeah.
There's loads of people there, and Osborne's good value at the back end there, and we can pick up Perry and all those guys later. Well, obviously your draft's going to be going longer than 18 rounds normally, but we keep it to 18 here on the hot seat. So let's let's run down your team then, Alex. And I'm pretty sure you're going to be happy with some of these players. I'm really not, if not all of them, because I think this is a pretty great job we've done here. So you got Patrick Mahomes in at quarterback, then running backs Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry, then 3 receivers Tyreek Hill, Terry McLaurin, and Mike Evans. You got Sam Laporta in at tight end. You got DeAndre Swift and Chig in at the minute at the flexes, but they can obviously change. You got Jared Goff as a super flex or Russell Wilson in a super flex, and then you got Wan'Dale Robinson, Nico Collins, Jerome Ford, Tank Dell, Adam Thielen, Mike Gesicki, and KJ Osborne. You got to be pretty pleased with that, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say, "Oh, my bench is quite weak at this point in the season," but there's capacity for that to really fluctuate, and it is kind of a bit of a hit and miss. But because I'd invested a lot in my starting roster, it's they're the guys I'm kind of building around, and the rest are only ever going to start, on a situational basis in bye weeks. It's quite careful there to see, like, Evans is the wide receiver 3, shall we say, and Chubb.
Yeah,
they're the only 2 who kind of got the same off week. Mahomes is going to be off the same week as Swift. So I'm not really losing too many people in 1 week. Goff and Henry will miss the same week, and Laporta. Maybe I'd be interested to see if you convert to a league, what my estimated scoring would be week on week with this team.
Oh, can we do that? Convert to league. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Your league is now ready. All right. How am I checking my estimated score, Alex? You have to talk me through this. Am I going back?
So you have to go out of this window and then go to your leagues, and it will say, like, Alex. There we go.
Alex, hey. All right.
So then I'd probably go, if you go to how do you see, like, all of the teams that are playing in the week?
Scores, I assume. Will we go scores or will we go league? There we go, league.
There we go. Yeah.
So 139 appears to be the highest scoring team.
I think there's one there there's one there that's 140 something, and there's one.
Is there?
143.
Team 2. Let's have a little look and see if there's any inflations. I mean, I can see one inflation right away, which is James Cook getting 11 points, which isn't going to happen. I would suspect.
Gibson's ahead in the sky. Yeah, that's a good team.
It's a pretty good team though as well, right? They've done a pretty good job there as well. So I think overall you got to be happy. I mean, Bryce Young getting 15 points, maybe, you never know. So I think you've opted for that win now team, and you've got a winnable matchup week 1, and by the looks of it, a winnable matchup in most weeks as well. So pretty pleased with that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can see, like, at least over half of that league there, you can see, I'm going to estimate at least 20, 30 points more than some of them. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that at the start you were like, okay, we're going to go win now. We don't want to let Patrick Mahomes down. We're going to go win now. And you kind of like stuck to that plan. I think that's just great advice for, anyone listening who's about to maybe do their first Dynasty draft or maybe just getting into it. Like, whatever you decide, stick with it, because your team's going to, like, really be so disjointed at the end if you start coming off one plan and taking other plans. Like, I think it's always good to stick to one thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of, even if you're in a redraft league and you're like, oh, I've messed this up, you just got to go. You can't look backwards, got to look forward, and then at that point, you got to say to yourself, okay, I can't be afraid to be bold. I can't be afraid. The fortune favors the bold.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, if you know that you've already messed up the draft, say around 3.
Yeah.
In your 4th round, pick the players that people are going to go for the 5th round, usually, and then just get ahead every single, and then it will, 1, you'll get some players that you like, and 2, it will distort the rest of the league's thinking about who they should be going for. They're going to start looking further down, and when you get to rounds 9, 10, 11, some good players are going to be left at the top because they think that you're going to be jumping ahead every time. So it's a bit of a psychological thing.
Nice, I like it. The art of war, right? Like we talked about all the way back in the first episode, right? And you
Yes.
even had the book as well. You had the book on you as well. Like that was
I do,
yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So Alex, just want to say thank you so much for coming on again for the third time we're thinking onto the hot seat. And thanks everybody for listening as well. Hey, if you've not already, hit that like and hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts as well, why not leave a little review as well? Just give that 5 stars. You can type some nice things if you want. That's always good. But thank you so much for listening. Alex, can you just remind everybody before you go, where can everyone find you online? What kind of stuff are you up to?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, Dynasty Guru NFL. Currently, I've been writing, this past few months, I've been writing for RPO football, focused on a lot of IDP. I've also been writing some IDP articles for Fantasy Six Pack. And once the college season starts going, I'm going to be writing one of the feature writers for 5 Yard College. So I'm going to have my hands full. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man of many tasks. IDP and Dynasty and college. There's a reason they call you the guru, right?
Well, I call myself the guru, and everyone else followed. So
yeah, exactly. Well, mate, this was brilliant. Thank you so much again, and thanks everyone for listening. Remember, for anything Dynasty you need to know, keep it locked on the Certified Inferno, and we'll see you next time.